Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into something that is literally going to change the way you look at your bedtime routine. We are exploring a scientifically backed nightly nutrition protocol that actively rebuilds your brain while you sleep. And honestly, the best part here, we're not talking about some insanely expensive wellness trend or a cabinet full of fancy supplements. We're talking about real, everyday foods that are probably sitting in your grocery store right now. Cutting-edge neuroscience is showing us that what you eat in those final hours before closing your eyes can literally repair memory circuits, drop brain inflammation, and actually grow new neural connections overnight. Okay, let's just jump right in with a number that is honestly mind-blowing. A University of Toronto study found that targeted nutritional intake in the evening hours, and specifically we're talking within 90 minutes of going to sleep, improved memory consolidation scores by a massive 43% in adults over the age of 65. I mean, think about that. That's a huge difference. That's literally the difference between remembering exactly where you put your keys or spending 20 frustrating minutes searching the house for them. It's confidently recalling a loved one's birthday instead of just drawing a complete blank. So that brings us to a pretty massive question. Are you silently starving your brain overnight? Because the reality is, most seniors are unknowingly depriving their brains of nutrition at the exact moment the brain needs it the absolute most. Today, we're counting down the 5 top foods to stop this from happening. And just a quick heads up, we are going to challenge some conventional wisdom here. Our controversial #1 food, the absolute most powerful brain-repairing food on this list, is something most folks have actually been told to avoid before bed. We'll get to that in a bit, but let's get this countdown started. All right, kicking things off, food number 5, tart cherry juice. Now, to understand why this works, we really need to talk about the core problem of brain aging, which is neuroinflammation. After age 70, this low-grade chronic inflammation shoots way up. It acts exactly like a massive traffic jam on your brain's communication highways. Your brain signals are desperately trying to get through, but everything is just bogged down, and memories simply have trouble forming. Well, this is where a specific variety of tart cherry, the Montmorency cherry, comes to the rescue. It's packed with this powerful class of anti-inflammatory compounds called anthocyanins, and these are remarkable because they actually cross the blood-brain barrier. Once they get inside, they suppress the specific inflammatory proteins that are actively damaging your memory-storing neurons. So here's how you actually use this. Your practical takeaway protocol is to drink 8 ounces of pure, unsweetened Montmorency tart cherry juice about 60 to 90 minutes before bed. A study in the European Journal of Nutrition showed this exact routine resulted in a 24% improvement in sleep efficiency. Which is amazing because it beautifully compensates for the fact that after age 65, your body's natural melatonin production just plummets by a massive 50%, and Montmorency cherries just happen to contain nature's highest concentration of melatonin. Just a quick tip, make sure you pair this juice with a little bit of healthy fat, because those anthocyanins absorb so much better that way. Oh, and whatever you do, absolutely do not add sugar. Moving right along down the list to food 4, Greek yogurt. Now, you might be thinking, yogurt? Really? But it's not on here just for the calcium. Greek yogurt is exceptionally high in tryptophan. That acts as the raw material your brain's factory converts into serotonin and then eventually into sleep-regulating melatonin. But to actually get this overnight production line moving, we have to clear a biological hurdle called anabolic resistance. See, as we get older, our bodies just get way less efficient at extracting the building blocks from the protein we eat during the day. Thankfully, research out of Maastricht University proved that the slow-digesting casein protein, which Greek yogurt is totally loaded with, overcomes this exact hurdle. Because casein breaks down slowly over 6 to 8 hours, it supplies a steady stream of amino acids all night long. It's continuously giving your brain the raw materials it needs to repair those synaptic connections. And Florida State University actually put this to the test, and the results were completely fascinating. They found that older adults who had 40 grams of casein before bed experienced massively greater cognitive flexibility. If you're not familiar, cognitive flexibility is basically your brain's ability to fluidly switch between different tasks and thoughts. It's actually one of the very first things to decline with normal aging, but casein actively fights back against that decline while you sleep. Okay, so here's your yogurt protocol. It's super simple. Eat 1 cup of full-fat Greek yogurt about 45 minutes before hitting the hay. And yes, you really do need the full-fat variety here to get optimal nutrient absorption. Feel free to stir in a little raw honey or maybe a handful of blueberries, but absolutely avoid adding refined carbs like sugary granola. Doing that will spike your insulin and literally interrupt the delicate brain repair processes we're working so hard to trigger. Cracking into our top 3, we have food 3. Walnuts. And to be clear, not almonds, not cashews, specifically walnuts. The reason walnuts are so special is that they're the only nut packed with a significant amount of ALA omega-3 fatty acids, polyphenols, and the vital precursors to DHA. DHA is essentially the physical insulation wrapped around the electrical wiring of your brain cells. Without it, your brain's signals get slow and distorted. To see how this plays out in real life, just look at a 74-year-old patient named Margaret. She was dealing with really frustrating memory blanks, but after 8 weeks of adding walnuts to her evening routine, she literally said it feels like someone turned a light back on. And her story matches the data perfectly. A massive study out of UCLA found that higher walnut consumption was associated with a 52% lower risk of poor cognitive function. Now, to understand why the timing matters here, let's look at the science of sleep and talk about something called the glymphatic system. Think of this as your brain's overnight cleaning crew. It flushes out metabolic waste, including those really dangerous amyloid plaques that are associated with Alzheimer's disease. But this flushing process, it requires incredibly healthy, flexible brain cell membranes to actually work. And those membranes are built directly from the fatty acids supplied by walnuts. So eating them right before bed ensures those building materials are circulating at the exact moment the cleaning crew needs them most. So here is the walnut protocol. You want 1.5 ounces, which comes out to about 14 walnut halves, and you eat them 60 minutes before sleep. One big rule: they must be raw or dry roasted. Seriously, avoid the salted or oil roasted varieties because the oxidized fats in those will completely ruin the benefit. And if you want the ultimate synergy, pair these walnuts with your tart cherry juice. The anthocyanins from the cherry plus the polyphenols from the walnut team up to create this compounded anti-inflammatory evening maintenance crew for your brain. And the best part? It costs under $2 a night.
All right, coming in at food number 2, raw honey.
This is something ancient healers have sworn by for centuries, and modern science is finally validating it. Raw, unprocessed honey, like manuka or local wildflower honey, contains a remarkably rare flavonoid called pinosembrin. Research out of the University of Waikato validated that pinosembrin promotes neurogenesis, which is the lifelong process of growing brand new neurons right in your hippocampus. It does this by fueling BDNF, or brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Basically, think of BDNF as vital fertilizer for your brain tissue. Normally, after age 75, if you don't take protective measures, your hippocampus will literally shrink by 1 to 2% every single year. But the National Brain Research Center found that daily consumption of raw honey restores those BDNF levels, effectively counteracting that terrifying annual shrinkage. To put a human face to this, think about Robert. At 71, he was experiencing these disorienting memory blanks. But by making raw honey a cornerstone of his evening protocol, he was able to reclaim his sharp mind and get back to his beloved crossword puzzles. The reason it works so wonderfully at night is because raw honey triggers this very gentle, controlled insulin response, which in turn gently lowers the cortisol in your bloodstream. Elevated midnight cortisol is a destructive force that literally kills hippocampal neurons. The honey just calms that whole chemical storm down so memory consolidation can safely happen. All right, here is your honey rulebook, and this is crucial. 1 to 2 teaspoons maximum. Seriously, anything more than that will spike your insulin aggressively and completely wipe out the benefits. Second, it must be raw and unheated, so don't go mixing it into boiling hot water. Have it about 30 minutes before bed, and remember that yogurt we talked about? The beautiful synergy here is to just stir the honey right into your Greek yogurt. That slow-digesting casein protein from the yogurt will extend the honey's gentle cortisol-lowering effect throughout the entire night. And finally, our controversial food 1, fatty fish. Now, like I mentioned earlier, fatty fish, like wild-caught salmon, sardines, or mackerel, is a food a lot of seniors are explicitly told to avoid before bed because of cholesterol or weight gain fears. But actually, scratch that. It is the most powerful dietary intervention you can make for cognitive longevity. Why? Because by dry weight, your brain is actually 60% fat. And the absolute most critical fat making up that structure is DHA. Fatty fish provides the exact preformed DHA and EPA building blocks that your brain is absolutely starving for. Here's the catch with aging. After you hit 60, your liver's ability to convert plant-based omega-3s into usable DHA drops by up to 70%. That means those plant sources are only giving you a tiny fraction of what they used to. Eating preformed DHA directly from fatty fish is absolutely crucial for maintaining the structural integrity of your brain's memory membranes. In the real-world impact of this, it's staggering. The landmark Rush University Mind Diet study tracked over 900 older adults. What they found was that eating fish at least once a week literally reversed a full decade of cognitive aging. Let me repeat that. fish eaters were, on average, 11 years younger cognitively than the non-fish eaters. 11 years. No way you can ignore data like that. So here is your final and most powerful prescription. Eat a light meal, or even just a substantial snack, of wild-caught salmon, sardines, or mackerel approximately 2 hours before bed. Researchers at the University of Rochester found that having adequate DHA in your bloodstream makes that overnight glymphatic cleaning system we talked about 60% more efficient. Plus, wild salmon provides astaxanthin. This is a phenomenal antioxidant that literally rescues your brain's aging cellular power plants, all while delivering vital D3, B12, and selenium, nutrients that most seniors are actually clinically deficient in. So, the research is absolutely clear here. We have the power to stop silently starving our brains. We can start actively rebuilding them while we sleep. We can clear out plaque, we can protect our memories, and we can do it all using common, everyday foods found right in a standard grocery store aisle. The only question I have left for you is, which of these 5 foods are you going to try tonight?